something's fishy going on with the Jets quarterback situation. We're going to get into that as well as training camp updates. And the training camp is the news today is centered around the quarterback position. We're going to get into all of that on this episode of Jets Roundtable, sponsored by Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, but most of all, sound off in the comments, man. And try not to make this too long of an episode, but we had some interesting storylines coming out of training camp. Surrounding backup quarterback, in my opinion, I think Cade Klubnik is clear QB2 at this point. But news surrounding around Cade Klubnik now, all through offseason, we've been hearing his name. We've been hearing how much the coaching staff, especially how much Frank Wright, likes this kid. We know his history. We'll go over his history with Clemson in a little bit. Just make sure you guys stay tuned. But there's starting to be some signs that Cade Klubnik might actually be the plan for the Jets going into the future. Let's start with the training camp news with Connor Hughes, man, because we're going to lead up to it. Let's go through training camp first today. Connor Hughes reported Geno Smith had his reps with the starters. Didn't look great today. Missed his first 3 passes. The first 2 weren't even close. The last one was late on Garrett Wilson. And this has been the concern about Geno Smith, is that while Geno Smith is a gunslinger, he is a quarterback that the Jets haven't had in a really long time, a quarterback that's able to push the ball down the field, is able to take chances. But the biggest knock on Geno Smith has been his inconsistency, and that showed up today. We're going to talk about why that might be an issue going into the future. Well, then we get into other tweets by Connor Hughes. Now, it goes to Geno Smith's whole practice, where it says Geno Smith finished practice 0 for 3. He did complete 2 passes, but they were nullified by a penalty and an obvious sack by Jarvis Brownlee. Now, you look at this and you'll be like, hey, it's training camp. They're just trying to figure out the kinks. You're going to have this in training camp, in practice. This is the perfect place to make mistakes, especially with Geno Smith coming into a new system with Frank Wright. But on the other side of that, you can look at, okay, well, we just saw Cade Klubnik play the first time with the starters in the preseason game against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Looked pretty good, by the way. And he had total control of the offense. And Geno Smith is still having these issues with penalties and incomplete passes and being inconsistent and getting sacked. And he may not have as complete control of this offense as what he's supposed to. Geno Smith was brought in to be a veteran presence, a bridge quarterback. These are kind of some things that, in my opinion, at this point in camp, Geno Smith shouldn't be getting wrong. I do believe we're 20 days away from the regular season, so there has to be some sort of consistency from Geno Smith. Now, Geno Smith has looked good in practices. I've heard from Richie, shout out to our guy Richie. I heard from Richie that Geno Smith has lighted up on practice a few times, but that inconsistency thing is a little bit of a problem. So you guys sound off in the comments. Let me know if you're a little bit concerned about what you're hearing from Geno Smith in his practice today. Shout out to Just the One. Don't worry, bro. I got you. Just make sure you stay tuned. I'm going to build this point. All right? Shout out to my guy, man. It's good to watch Jets Roundtable. Good to be back. Hopefully we could do this every Wednesday from here on out. Football season is here. Time to ramp up. But let's get back into what we were talking about. Now, Geno Smith struggled today, which brings up a tweet again from Connor Hughes that caught my attention. All right? This is the tweet that caught my attention. Cade Klubnik completed a pass to Garrett Wilson. So he's playing with the starters, obviously. Just now for a short gain, thought it was good blocking from Ola Fashanu and Armand Membu to give him time. Finished the drive with a touchdown to Jelani Woods. You see the caption there. You see the GIF. You need to read between the lines. And this is where we bring in the thumbnail, the conversation about what is really the plan for Cade Klubnik. Because let's go ahead and I'll tell you a quick story. After the preseason game, I went ahead and made a declaration that I think Cade Klubnik is the clear QB2. We saw what Bailey Zappi looked like. It was god-awful. Like, especially with him being a vet, him making those mistakes, regardless if it's a preseason game or not. Bailey Zappi has been with this team for at least 2 seasons now. Him coming out in the quarterback competition and him making those type of mistakes in preseason was a really bad look. Brady Cook looked okay against third stringers and people who are like on the red line of making the team. He looked okay, but we know what Brady Cook looks like. We saw what he looked like last season. So in my opinion, seeing the play of Cade Klubnik clearly solidified him as QB2. The poise was there. The accuracy was there. It seemed like Cade Klubnik belonged as the starting quarterback for the New York Jets. And I want to bring this tweet back up really quickly because another thing that stands out to me, and this isn't like speculation where you need to tell, your grandma, your mom, your cousin, your brother, oh, he said that Cade Klubnik is going to be the starter. That's not what I'm saying. But there are some signs that we need to pay attention to that maybe the Jets are thinking about it. And all we have to do is look at the second line in this tweet. What I was referring to in the preseason game, it seemed like the offense rallied around Cade Klubnik, like they wanted him to be there. If you're a football guy and you've been watching football for a very long time, you know what it looks like how a team plays with a quarterback they want to be in there. Now, we haven't gotten that opportunity to see Geno Smith in the preseason yet, so I'm not totally absolving that, this isn't the case. But Connor Hughes pointed out the mistakes that Geno Smith made, where there was offsides penalty, and then he got sacked. But Cade Klubnik was able to get really good blocking from Ola Fashanu and Armand Membu to give him time to throw. I think that kind of speaks a little bit of how this team feels, how this offense feels, especially the offensive line, who we know is really good. Feels about Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik got the protection. Geno Smith didn't. Now, did Geno Smith not be able to make his adjustments correctly to read the defense at the line of scrimmage? Possible. Maybe that's why the penalties happened. But if that didn't happen for Cade Klubnik, it kind of makes it seem like Cade Klubnik has total control of his offense and total control of the timing pre-snap and was able to make the accurate reads on the defense to provide himself protection and to communicate that with the offensive line. That's just what it seems like. I'm not going overboard with it, but you do have to kind of like compare what's going on in these Jets practices. And the thing about Connor Hughes, now people will look at this and be like, oh, it's clickbait. Connor Hughes actually hasn't been that guy over the course of this preseason. There's been a few Jets rumors that have come down the pike that Connor Hughes totally dismissed. Really clickbaity things, stories about power struggles in between Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji and who's really in control and what Woody Johnson said to Aaron Glenn in the offseason. A lot of that was dispelled and put to bed by Connor Hughes. And if he was a clickbait guy, he probably would have went along with those narratives. He dismissed them. Connor Hughes has kind of been down the middle when it comes to reporting for the New York Jets. So him posting this that we need to read in between the lines is bigger than what most people may think. Now, as reporters, we can't just come out and be like, hey, everybody needs to watch this, because Geno Smith does have a hurt ankle that could attribute to his play of why he's being inconsistent on the practice field. We have some sound from Aaron Glenn, I do believe, talking about that I want to play for you. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But Connor Hughes saying this tweet makes me raise my eyebrows a little bit. So you guys sound off in the comments so far. Let me know if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Because I made a video the other day, and a lot of people, when I was talking, like, I heard a comment from Aaron Glenn at a press conference where the reporter asked him, it didn't sound like a QB2 question to me, but when I heard it back after a couple of days, it did sound like a QB2 question, but it didn't at first. And it made me start to wonder how the Jets really feel about Cade Klubnik, man. It really did. And the question was, hey, we understand that Geno Smith is the starter, but seeing how Cade Klubnik just plays, if he's one play away from going in, do you have confidence that he'll be able to produce for you? The biggest thing I saw was Aaron Glenn's eyes light up. And he did try to play it down. Hey, Cade's getting better day by day. And don't get it twisted. There's still a quarterback competition. He didn't clarify that it was only for QB2. He did not do that. Now, he did say that Geno Smith was a starter originally, but he didn't clarify if there was a QB competition going on in between Geno Smith and the rest of that quarterback room. He didn't do that. Now, it's assumed he was talking about the QB2, but he never clarified. And that's something that I wanted to ask people like, hey, I heard what Aaron Glenn said. Does this mean that Geno Smith isn't the guaranteed starter and that there truly is a quarterback competition going on from 1 through 4 on that depth chart? I got killed for it. He was talking about the second unit and Cade Klubnik's not ready. And I wasn't making a declaration. I wasn't making a prediction. I was just asking a question because at all the news that we've heard all through offseason, all through minicamp, all through training camp, Cade Klubnik's name has been brought up numerous times. And it's making me wonder if the Jets really feel more about Cade Klubnik than we know. So you guys sound off. Let me know in the comments how you feel so far on this episode of Jets Roundtable, sponsored by Prize Picks. So while we're here, let's go ahead and give a shout out to the sponsor, Prize Picks. New users, we have a deal for you guys. Now, I can't use it. I'm a Prize Picks veteran here. All right, we'll have picks up during the course of the season. I don't really deal with football picks before the season because I'm ready for the games. But anyway, new users, all you have to do is download the app, use code HMA. You play $5, you get $150 if that lineup wins. So make sure you know your football. It's available in all 50 states. All you got to do is pick a few player props, more or less. Team props is the same thing. Super easy to use. You can even give it to your kid and let them pick stuff for you if you want. Maybe that's better luck. I'd probably have better luck doing that myself. But new users, use code HMA, play $5, get $50, $150 if you win. Just make sure you play responsibly. Shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks. But getting back into training camp, man, and this news from Connor Hughes, he talks about the day that Cade Klubnik had. And this is interesting too, because it says here, while Geno Smith struggled, Cade Klubnik had a good day. 5 for 5, including a short touchdown pass to Woods and Kene in a red zone period. I'd expect Klubnik to see more playing time on Friday than we did last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the New York Jets are facing the Pittsburgh Steelers on Friday. Now, in the first game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Cade Klubnik didn't play a lot, which a lot of people thought was really weird. It was a surprise he got the start. We found out that Geno's dealing with an ankle issue, and that's the reason why Cade Klubnik started. It's different today that he's playing with the starters because Geno Smith was healthy enough to practice. Now, I checked to see if there was any injury reports that they pulled Geno due to injury. Couldn't find anything. So if you guys have heard that it's injury, please put it in the chat. Let your boy know. I didn't see anything. That's what I mainly searched for before I even came up here. I don't like to do speculation. I like to report you guys the news, right? But he didn't get a lot of playing time. Only played 1 or 2 series. Looked pretty good. Like I said, 5 for 7. I do believe 53 yards. But was able to move the ball down the field. Only took 1 sack. I do believe he had a 94.4 QBR rating, something like that. Played pretty well for a rookie who's never played with the starters all offseason and was able to command the offense in their first preseason game. The Bucs played their bench, their second unit. All right, let's slow down the talk of if he's the quarterback for the future. We can do that. But there's starting to be news circling. When there's smoke, there's fire. So they play the Steelers. Connor Hughes says that he expects him to play more in that preseason game. Now, I want to play this sound for you guys. All right? I want you guys to hear it straight from the horse's mouth about how Connor Hughes and what he saw today in training camp, as well as his concerns that many of us have had about Geno Smith. You guys take a listen. Let me know what you think about this. I'm going to go ahead and play it for you.
This one off. Number one, Geno Smith. Getting a little concerned about him. I know he's dealing with the ankle issue, and sure, that might be leading to some of the accuracy problems that we've seen, but there's been a more passive approach to his game over the last couple of weeks that I didn't necessarily expect, because the one thing that we talked about, the benefit of having Geno Smith, is he's going to play that F-it ball. And what I mean by that is that he's going to take shots. He's going to give his guys chances to make big plays, and that's going to be a welcomed addition for a Jets offense that has not done that with their last two quarterbacks in Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields. Unfortunately, the checkdowns are back. The not taking chances is back. The quick, just get the ball out of my hands to my running back in the flat has been a prominent aspect of the Jets offense, which, you know, if you're not going to get the aggressive Geno, I don't necessarily know if you want that passive Geno. Second thought that
The second thought was on the defense. We'll take care of that in another video. Defense struggled. He's concerned about the secondary. I was concerned about the secondary as well watching the preseason game. I don't know if y'all, it kind of seemed like the Bucs, regardless of what unit was on the field, was able to move the ball down the field pretty effectively on that Jets defense. But you guys sign off in the comments. Let me know about how you feel about what you heard from Connor Hughes, because the concerning thing to me is the check down thing. Like, we know who Geno Smith is, all right? He's here to push the ball down the field, get the ball to Garrett Wilson, has a ton of weapons on the outside. Kenyon Sadiq, an update on him, should be ready for week one. D'Angelo Pons should be ready for week one. I think they were shown riding the bike today, trying to make sure they stay conditioned and all of that. So Breece Hall, great news on Breece Hall, should be ready for week one. It's a week's injury, not a month's injury with his groin injury that he had. So this Jets team should be full health by week one. On the defensive side, you had T'Vondre Sweat and Joseph Asai come back to practice. Check out our previous video, kind of symbols who Will McDonald is going to be. But getting back to this offense, the concerning thing that I heard from Connor Hughes is the game plan of this offense, especially with Geno Smith being in there. Geno Smith isn't a dink and dunk quarterback. Geno Smith should be able to command the offense to a point where he should be able to drive the ball down the field. He was able to do that in the practice the day before, but today something's changed. And I got some sound from Eric Glenn that I'm going to play for you guys in a little bit to kind of back up my point when it comes to that, how he feels about stuff like that. But there's a lot of concern around Geno Smith. And I see my guy in here. He says that, I'll go ahead and pivot real quick. He said this before and he'll say it again. Geno Smith is his Mookie Betts, not a Red Sox fan, not a Dodgers fan, don't care about Mookie Betts. His Derrick Jones Jr., his Alexis Vega, and his Julian Cojones basically is his QB1. I understand that, but I'm going to keep it real. I think any Jets fan who has this confidence that Geno Smith should just be the day one starter and we should not have a quarterback competition, I think you're bugging out. That's just me personally. We could disagree on how you feel about Cade Klubnik as a talent. If he's ready, if they should redshirt him, they should bring him along slowly like we've seen in quarterbacks in the past, a la Jordan Love. But let's kind of keep it real about the Jordan Love situation. He was able to sit behind a quarterback of Aaron Rodgers, a future Hall of Famer, a future multiple-time MVP, a future former Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion. He was able to sit behind that and learn. That's different than sitting behind Geno Smith. It's way different. So I had that point at first. That was my initial point, is that, hey, just let Cade Klubnik sit on the bench and we'll see what happens. But you got to be in the right situation for that. This isn't necessarily the right situation for that, especially when we look at Geno on the field and off the field. You never want your quarterback in the news for the wrong reasons other than football. Which brings me to my Geno Smith point. I would not be dead if Cade Klubnik is lighting it up in practice. Geno Smith is dinking and dunking. He's not accurate. He's incredibly inconsistent. What type of play does that symbol from? A rookie. You have a rookie on your staff that you need to develop, who the offense seems to respect, heavy on seams, and actually plays well when he's in there with them. And it's a little bit of a strong contrast to the guy that you brought in, that you traded for, only paying him $3.3 million, by the way. It's not like Geno has the bag and they have to start him. It's not a Deshaun Watson situation. It's not that. All right? If Geno Smith is making these mistakes and he's inconsistent, and I'm going to bring this up, something I thought about, and then we'll move on. Not going to stay too long on Geno Smith. Not going to bash him. My biggest concern about Geno Smith coming back to New York was the maturity issue. Not going to blame him for what happened with his girlfriend. I'm not going to do that. While the ticket, minor traffic violations that he had, driving without a license, speeding, all of that, sounds minor, right? But it's your quarterback. You don't want to hear that about your quarterback. You don't want to hear that about anybody on your team, but usually it's wide receivers, skill position players, anybody other than a quarterback. The quarterback is your golden goose. You don't want him in the news for anything other than football. And Geno just got back. We don't need to go over his history with the New York Jets before. We know what that was like. And then we look at how this New York Jets organization was moving during the offseason. Mum was the word. No, it's been a surprise with how many leaks that have come out of that building over the course of the last few years, especially during the Aaron Rodgers tenure. It was terrible. The leaks that were coming out of that building. We didn't know what was true, what was false. We had none of that this preseason, and it seemed like the Jets just wanted to focus on football and getting better, no distractions. They brought in Geno Smith to be an extension of that to their younger players. He failed before minicamp even began. So if you're the New York Jets, who have been through the turmoil of news not football related, even news football related, and you're trying to change this narrative of becoming a stable, respectable organization, and you bring in a guy who had previous turmoil with your franchise, who divided the locker room in your franchise before. He was young, I get it. But it still happened. You tie that with this inconsistent play, with the way that Cade Klubnik is playing, with the way how Frank Reich feels about him. They're saying he does all the right things. He says all the right things. He has the confidence. The talent is there. It just needs to be molded. If you're a Jets fan and Geno Smith is an automatic shoo-in for you, I think you're making a grave mistake. Sound off in the comments. Let me know if you agree or disagree. So we'll move on, right? Because I'm not done. We got Aaron Glenn here, and he talks about injuries. Now, this is where I kind of throw Geno Smith a little bit of a bone, pause, is because it could be the ankle. That's why I'm saying don't go out there and tell, your cousin and, your fantasy buddies that you have to do a fantasy draft that Cade Klubnik going to be the starter. This guy on Jets Roundtable said that Geno Smith is going to be benched and Cade Klubnik, and then you draft Cade Klubnik and then you looking for me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that this is something that we definitely need to pay attention to. But in saying that, on this episode of Jets Roundtable, sponsored by Prize Picks, let's bring up Aaron Glenn, and here's what he has to say on the injury front, and if Geno's injury is going to affect him playing in Friday's preseason game, man. Let's hear what AG got to say.
But I think the thing that we do quite a bit is make sure we have game intensity in practice. And I think our guys do a really good job of that. And it's not just with Geno, it's any player, Breece, Garrett, Double D, any of those guys, is as we get towards the end of it, man, we want to make sure we make the right decision on playing the guys or not. And then sometimes, man, the guys want to get out there and play. But I think the thing that we do quite a bit is.
Sorry, I was muted. But so that was Aaron Glenn on the injury. He didn't necessarily say that Geno Smith is injured. He didn't give us the injury update and say, hey, pulling Geno in practice, he's questionable for Friday's game. He didn't give us any of that. He basically said, we're going to play at full game speed. It's not just with Geno. Notice, he's tying in Geno with the rest of the team. It's not just Geno Smith. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, people thinking that Geno Smith is just his shoe-in and that the Jets have this ultimate confidence in him, especially with Cade having reps with the ones today. I think that's dwindling as the weeks go on and as practices go on and as Cade Klubnik seems to show his talent level. But that was Aaron Glenn. You guys sound off in the comments. Let me know if that makes you concerned a little bit that maybe Geno Smith is injured and he might not play. But this next one I want to play for you ties directly into what else I'm about to say. And it's Aaron Glenn's thoughts on mentality. I want you to remember what Connor Hughes said about the way that Geno Smith operated this offense today. By him being a gunslinger, him being able to throw the ball down the field. But everything he's seeing from Geno Smith today is a lot of dink and dunk, a lot of just get the ball out my hands quick. I don't know if that could have been the game plan for the New York Jets today. Is the practice that? But here's Aaron Glenn on mentality. I want you guys to hear this. You sound off in the comments. Let me know your reaction when it's done.
Listen, there's always going to be a talent drop-off, when you go from your top guy to the next guy. But the mentality doesn't have to change. The mentality could be the exact same. And I think that's the one way that you keep your team afloat when you do have injuries to where, okay, is the talent down? Yes. But this league is about mentality, and how guys can come in and actually play the same way that the guy in front of him was playing. So, and we talk about that quite a bit. And I've experienced that quite a bit in this league. So, yes, building the depth and also building the mentality of the players that you have.
You guys sound off in the comments. Let me know how you feel about that, because I tie that directly into how he feels about Cade Klubnik and the rest of his team. I honestly do believe that Aaron Glenn doesn't care. Like, the conversation around Cade Klubnik or why he shouldn't even be talked about as him being a potential starter for the New York Jets because they got him in the 4th round. Even though I have his college stats here, we can pull up his college stats. I have his college stats here. That's not 4th round talent. We got to remember that if Cade Klubnik came out of the draft in 2025, he was due to be a 1st round selection. Got hurt, had a bad season. Clemson seems like they're falling off the cliff anyway. Their coach, Debo's bugging out. So it's not necessarily on the kid. Not a lot of weapons on the outside to throw to. Still had a 16-6 touchdown interception ratio. Was still able to throw for, I believe, over 3,000 yards that season. 2,900 got close. So Cade Klubnik was still able to perform under pressure while hurt, with less skill position, with questions around the coaching staff. This is the type of stuff that Aaron Glenn told us about, that they studied what he went through in college and felt like he was ready for the NFL, which is why they traded up to get him. It's not like the Jets were sitting around in the 4th round and they were like, Cade Klubnik, we'll take him, see what he's like. They traded up to get Cade Klubnik. They saw something in him. And Aaron Glenn talked about his mentality, his confidence, his ability to learn, make mistakes. We point out what mistakes he makes. He automatically makes the adjustment. We'll get to that video next. But that mentality quote from Aaron Glenn about the rest of the roster, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how they feel about your talent level. If we could put you in the game and you could give us the same production that the starter was in there, you're able to raise your level of intensity, your level of focus, your level of talent to the starter that was in here. That's the mentality that Aaron Glenn wants. So while it's nothing to panic about, Geno Smith reverting to this dink and dunk thing during practice today, going 0 for 3, not being able to command of the offensive line to read the defense to make sure there's no penalties, everybody's where they need to be. running with everything I said about him in his past. It's very concerning, and this is why I think we're hearing quotes like this from the New York Jets. They're not going to just come out and say, we're concerned about Geno, we're looking more about the kid. You're going to see stuff like this. Teams always have a tell. This is the same stuff we saw when Dak Prescott, I can't remember what round he was drafted. I think it was like the second or third round, whatever, balled out in preseason. We know Jerry Jones absolutely loved Tony Romo. There's no way they're starting Dak Prescott. Now, Tony Romo had to get injured to give Dak Prescott his chance, but when Dak Prescott got the keys, Tony Romo never got him back. I think he got him back for a couple of weeks or something like that. They were like, nah, we're going with the kid. We can even look back as recent as the Seahawks situation before Geno Smith got there. A la Russell Wilson. The Seahawks just signed Matt Flynn to a humongous deal back then. They had this kid, Russell Wilson, who was drafted in the 3rd or 4th round, saw that he could play over the starter, gave them a better chance to win, who started starting for the Seattle Seahawks, who became a Super Bowl champion and a multiple-time Pro Bowler. That would be Russell Wilson. So there are stories. Like I said, teams have a tell when they feel a certain way about a young prospect that they have that they might be thinking could be their future. Now, let me get this off the screen real quick. If the Jets didn't have this opinion of Cade Klubnik whatsoever, all you would hear is Aaron Glenn shutting these questions down. Geno Smith is a starter. Geno Smith is a starter. Cade Klubnik is the backup. Geno Smith is a starter. We saw that last season with the Cleveland Browns, with Kevin Stefanski, Dylan Gabriel, Deshaun Watson, and Shedeur Sanders. You know how these coaches act when they're stuck by their starter. We know how the coaches act. Hey, look, we'll even go to last year. Does anybody else but me remember the confidence that Aaron Glenn had in Justin Fields where everybody was saying he was tripping? Anybody else remember that? When you look at the result, does everybody else see how much that burned Aaron Glenn? What type of hole that put Aaron Glenn in to believe in that kid? With Aaron Glenn saying that he learned from last season's mistakes, do you think it's possible that Aaron Glenn's like, if Geno's doing what the kid could give us, why don't we just go with the kid? I'm not going to stick by Geno Smith because he's been a starter in this league. I'm not going to do that. Last time I did that, that got me burnt. I'm not saying that Geno Smith is Justin Fields. I'm not saying that. But the confidence level of Geno Smith is stinking it up in practice. But the kid looks good and the starters are rallying around the kid. What logical choice would you make? Especially if your job is on the line. You want your job to be on the line and trust Geno Smith out of all people after the previous 2 seasons he had? Not one. Let's go ahead and bring up the stats from Geno Smith for the past couple of years to show you where the concerns are. It's not just the Raiders thing, because a lot of people are like, hey, the Raiders were basically the worst situation in the NFL. All right, cool. Kind of give them a pass, right? 3,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, a QBR of 34.1. Damn, you can't get any worse than that, in my opinion. You might, but you can't get any worse. I mean, if you look at Geno Smith's first season with the New York Jets, I'll go ahead and enlarge this for you so you can see it. 12 touchdowns to 21 interceptions. Next season, 2014, 13 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Bounced around the league, didn't get a lot of playing time. Broke out for the Seattle Supersonics in 2022. 30 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, over 4,000 yards thrown. In my opinion, that year is an anomaly. And this is where I think fans don't understand. When my guy, Jets fan, is in there saying he's right about Geno Smith, I think it's that year that people think they're going to get out of Geno Smith. Geno Smith had an elite talent on the outside, was able to do that the next year. Let's go to the next year, 2023, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. See the touchdowns starting to slip? Only 3,600 yards. You see the numbers starting to dip. 2024, 21 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, over 4,000 yards. Still good. Gunslinger, going to get their yards, still can cost you games with those interceptions. That's the last thing these Jets team needs. Especially last season with the Jets not being able to get an interception all season long. You think these fans want to see Geno Smith turning the ball over like that? It'd be a nightmare. But that's the production we need to look at. And then you go to the Las Vegas Raiders of last season, 3,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, sacked 55 times. Offensive line, terrible. True. Talent on the outside, mediocre at best. True. 17 interceptions? Damn, you can't throw the ball into the ground, Geno? I see you a gunslinger trying to make stuff happen, but does the reality of your situation not kick in at some point? While he may not have been the main problem, Chip Kelly, I forgot the head coach's name. I forgot his name at the point. I'm on a roll. I apologize. But Geno Smith is at least 30% of the problem with 17 interceptions. And what happened? The Raiders got rid of him. Who'd they bring in to be the vet there? Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins. Old Kirk Cousins. 2 years removed from an Achilles tear at an older age, who doesn't have the talent of an Aaron Rodgers to be able to overcome the injury and the slowness he now has to deal with in this older age as a quarterback. They chose him. Let's go to a year before that, when Geno Smith got let go by the Seattle Seahawks. Can we talk about that? When they let Geno Smith go, and as soon as they let Geno Smith go, because obviously they saw the slip in production themselves, what did the Seahawks do last season? I do believe they're reigning, defending Super Bowl champions. Oh, with Sam Darnold, the guy who used to see ghosts. Does it start making sense to you why this New York Jets team should not just be completely dead set with Geno Smith being a starting quarterback? I think it's a mistake, especially if he's showing you who he is in practice, man. I'm concerned about Geno Smith. You guys sound off and let me know in the comments if you're as concerned about Geno Smith as I am on this episode of Jets Roundtable. Now, here's where we're going to play the sound about Aaron Glenn and how he feels about Cade Klubnik, man. This might tell us everything we need to know, and then I'll get you guys out of here. Try not to make this episode too long. But I had to come in and tap in with you guys to let you know I'm not crazy. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't bring you guys BS. I ask questions when I don't know, and I'll report the news when I do. So here's Aaron Glenn talking about Cade Klubnik and how he's progressing. Go ahead and play this clip for you. Give me 1 second, get this pulled up, and then I'll get to some comments if they're there. Salute to everybody tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button. If you're new, you like this video, hit the like and subscribe. Love to have you, bring you on to the Jets Roundtable family. But here's Aaron Glenn on how Cade Klubnik has been performing so far for this New York Jets team during this offseason and how he feels he's getting better.
As he continues to grow, what would you like to see from Klubnik on Friday night?
That's exactly him growing. And the mistakes that he made in the game, that those same mistakes don't show up. And that's what you want to see with everybody. And I know we're speaking on Cade right now. And listen, I think every time he practices, he's getting better and better and better. But I also like the fact that those mistakes that he make in practice, we're able to coach him, and he understands those mistakes. I think that's the number one thing when it comes to any player is, man, when those mistakes happen, let's attack those mistakes right now. Let's make sure we clean it up. And let's make sure he understands the why behind the mistake. I think that's the most important part for any player is understanding the why behind it. And I think that's when you improve the most.
Here's why this is major to me. I'm gonna go ahead and get this out of here. You guys sound off in the comments. I'll get to them in a second. Let me know how you feel about what you heard from Aaron Glenn. A lot of praise for Cade Klubnik. A lot of praise for Cade Klubnik. And I want you guys to notice this too. Notice I had to get this video. Like I said, the Jets keeping the stuff mum. Don't want to let a lot of stuff out of there like that. Want to keep news close. No leaks. Don't want to tell us anything. I really do believe that the New York Jets are playing poker. They don't want the rest of the league to see what's in their hand. They played like that in the draft. We didn't know who the Jets were. We could speculate. Orville Reese, David Bailey, Reuben Bain, whatever. We could speculate. We did not know until 2 days before the draft. The Jets have been playing poker this whole offseason. When I was looking up these videos, I noticed the video we just heard about Cade Klubnik coming from Aaron Glenn, that's not on the Jets social media. Shout out to SNY Jets for putting this clip out for us. Like I said, the Jets playing chess. They ain't playing checkers. Just want to point that out, man. Just want to point that out. But when it comes to what Aaron Glenn just said about Cade Klubnik, it just really seems like they have the confidence in this kid. And I think it's more than what we thought it was, right? And let's talk about timelines here, and then I'll get you guys out of here, all right? Because I think I pretty much have used the videos to make my point. I think I've done a good job at making my point. You guys sound off in the comments. Let me know if you're still with me. Salute to everybody tuning in who have stuck with me over the course of the show. I know it's been a lot, but I just wanted to break down the timeline of you, and I'm going to get you out of here and wrap this up with how I feel about what's going on. I already talked about how I think it's a mistake for New York Jets fans to automatically assume that Geno Smith should be the starter, and that's it. We talked about how Aaron Glenn wants to learn from his mistakes. Did that last year with Justin Fields while Justin Fields was struggling in practice. We heard the same thing about Justin Fields, how he's not getting the ball down the field, dinking and dunking, just trying to get the ball out of his hands, can't control the line of scrimmage, penalties, sacks, mistakes, something that this New York Jets team does not want to go through again in the 2026 season. And if you were to go through that, you would rather go through that with a rookie, which is why Aaron Glenn saying that Cade Klubnik has been coachable and they're able to tell him his mistakes, tell him why he shouldn't make that mistake, and he's able to adjust. We might not get that out of Geno Smith. Like I said, our grandparents told us back in the day, man, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You can't do it. But another mistake that I think New York Jets fans are making, they're gauging how they feel about Cade Klubnik due to his draft positioning. Let me make this clear. While Cade Klubnik was drafted in the 4th round, and you guys have to debate if you want to, Cade Klubnik is more talented than a 4th round quarterback. We saw what happened with Shedeur Sanders last year. Regardless of how you feel about Shedeur or not, or whatever, 6th round for Shedeur or wherever he was drafted was crazy. 2nd round, 3rd round, maybe at minimum is where Shedeur should have gone. We saw how far he dropped. The NFL draft is a crapshoot. You don't know who these kids are going to be. So looking at his college stats and everything, the experience that he has, over 40 games played in college. I even heard Boomer Esiason say on his show that that's a big plus. He heard Bill Parcells tell him that the one thing that Bill Parcells looks at before he drafts a quarterback is how many games he's played in college. The experience level is there with Cade Klubnik. The confidence is there with Cade Klubnik. The comfortability is there with Cade Klubnik. We'll see if the talent is there. Hopefully we get to see that on Friday against the Steelers. He could totally just stank it up and all of this goes away. But if the talent is there, which I think it is, I don't think it's fair for Jets fans to look at Cade Klubnik and say he shouldn't start because he's a 4th rounder. I think you're making a mistake there. I really do. And the confidence around, and let's talk about the timeline with Aaron Glenn. Now, Aaron Glenn don't have a lot of time to get this right. All right? He doesn't. Let's keep this real. So when we look at the timeline of how, the narrative out there about the New York Jets is that they're not concerned about Cade Klubnik. They're not concerned about Geno Smith, who signed for 1 year, $3.3 million. Big deal to me. Means they don't have loyalty to him to only pay him $3.3 million. He's in the same situation that Kyler Murray is in, is that if he doesn't get it together this year, he's relegated to the bench for the rest of his career unless some bad team, like the New York Jets were last year, wants to take a whiff on him. So that's the level that Geno Smith is at right now. So there's pressure on all sides. I'm going to talk about that right now. Aaron Glenn doesn't necessarily have a timeline to trust Geno Smith to be the guy to get him 6 or 7 wins if he's seeing Geno Smith stink it up in practice and Geno Smith be inconsistent. And oh, by the way, Geno Smith has these issues off the field that Aaron Glenn and the team has to answer for, something that they've had to do for the past 3 seasons with Aaron Rodgers. They don't want to go back there. So Aaron Glenn might be starting to see the light when Geno Smith is like, hey, look, I hear what we heard about what he's saying. They got confidence in him, and it's going to take time. And if you picked up Geno Smith and you chose to play him over a rookie who could give you the same production and he tanks your season, and when this offseason, do you think Aaron Glenn should have a job? I don't. Unless the Jets are blatantly tanking. But does anybody believe that the additions that the New York Jets have made on the defensive side of the ball, Aaron Glenn switching to coaching his defense from here on out, that they're planning to tank for a top 5 pick to get their quarterback of the future? That's not what we're seeing. Argue about the talent level all you want. Have that debate, whatever. Same old Jets. If you're one of those people, this ain't the show for you. I'm here for people who actually want to put their thinking caps on and try to look around at what's going on with this team. Me believing that the Jets are waiting for 2027 to get a quarterback, that doesn't seem to fit the timeline here. Let's talk about the pressure on Frank Reich as well. Frank Reich failed with Bryce Young in Carolina. Never got a head coaching job after that. Had to go back to college. Is coming back to the NFL after 2 seasons. Relegated now to being assistant head coach, in my opinion, but an offensive coordinator who not only has a veteran who needs to get his stuff together, but also has a kid in Cade Klubnik, somebody that he likes. And let's go to the offseason. There was a big concern about the Jets not having an established veteran backup quarterback on their roster. It was a huge concern, not only for everybody else, but for me too. They didn't go out and get one, did they? They stuck with Bailey Zappi. They stuck with Brady Cook. They knew who they were. They chose Cade Klubnik. Hey, compete for the job. That's another thing to look at. Let's talk about Darren Muji as well. There's a whole bunch of execs in the NFL who have so much respect for Darren Muji. Is there anybody out there who really believes that if Darren Muji went out and got all this talent in free agency, traded up, the Jets had 3 first-round picks this year. We can talk about next year. They had 3 first-round picks this year. They traded up to get them, but 3 first-round picks is 3 first-round picks. If those 3 first-round picks don't work out, and you brought in Geno Smith, who you thought could be a bridge quarterback for this franchise, had off-the-field issues, come in here and stunk it up, and you're a 5-win football team, where does that respect go for Darren Muji? You can't blame it all on Aaron Glenn. You think that Darren Muji wants to risk his status? If Cade Klubnik looks like he can play and give the Jets everything that Geno Smith is giving them, you don't think he's like, hey, maybe we need to try the kid? And here's the reason why, and I'll wrap up with this. It's a best case scenario for the New York Jets. There's a worst fear for the New York Jets. We don't know what the worst case scenario is. We've been there. We're used to that. But I want to talk about the best case and the worst case. I'm going to give you the worst fear first. The worst fear for the New York Jets and this organization, Aaron Glenn, Frank Reich, Darren Muji, Woody Johnson himself. I'll close out with the Woody Johnson point. is the Jets draft a quarterback in 2027, and he's not the guy again, and everybody gets fired, leaving the Jets back on the rebuilding hamster wheel that we've been on for the past 50 years. Worst fear, everybody in that organization is thinking about that when it comes to 2027, having 3 first-round draft picks, which is why all this news about Cade Klubnik makes sense. Because if Cade Klubnik is the guy, and the Jets could use the picks that they have in 2027 to build out the rest of this roster, imagine who the Jets can be in 2027 and beyond with that type of talent. Imagine what you can do with 3 first-round picks. May not be able to get the quarterback at the top, but if this secondary is struggling the way Connor Hughes say is struggling, you could damn sure bolster that. We'll see what D'Angelo Ponds look like. Hopefully he's at least a bit of a reprieve to give this secondary to get them some help. No, it's going to take the defense a little bit of time, but that's something you can use it for. You need more weapons on the outside. What, Kenyon Sadiq don't work out? Mason Taylor don't work out? I think Omar Cooper is a beast. We'll see what A.D. Mitchell does this year. You can use those picks to really establish a playoff contender if you have a quarterback. And here's the thing. I don't expect Cade Klubnik to be a savior. In my opinion, what I see the New York Jets doing, does anybody remember the Rex Ryan team? Where all they needed Mark Sanchez to do was not lose the game, make a couple of big plays here and there, and just get the ball to the skills positions and let them win the game for you. And oh, by the way, have an amazing defense. That's what it looked like the New York Jets are building towards. And if Cade Klubnik can give them that, even though I think he's a lot more talented than Mark Sanchez, keep it real. If the Jets can get that, Cade Klubnik could be like a Brock Purdy. The Jets are a playoff team, especially in 2027 with those picks. So I think that's the best case scenario due to the worst fear of what can happen if the Jets do what everybody else say they're going to do and bet on the quarterback in 2027 in the crapshoot where we don't know if he can be the guy regardless of where he's picked. So Cade might not be the guy, but I'm starting to believe the Jets think and hope he is. Because from everything we're hearing, it's not Geno. And he might have messed that up already. You guys sound off in the comments. Let me know if you agree with what I'm saying, man. And another person that got pressure, closing it out. I want to save this for the end. For all my New York Knicks fans going into the season, what up, champ? For all my New York Knicks fans, I want you to think about this. There was 2 laughing stocks in New York. 2. I don't count the Brooklyn Nets. They're not really New Yorkers. They tried to finesse their way to Brooklyn, made the big trade to get Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Deron Williams, failed. Tried to get Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, failed. Tried to take over New York. New York Knicks won the championship. They might as well just move now. You heard the I don't know if you heard the quotes from the Brooklyn Nets owner. He's like, it's embarrassing for us that the New York Knicks won a championship. Yeah, because you tried to take over, knowing that you're not really a New York team. You're the New Jersey Nets. So they don't count. Let's talk about the other franchises in New York. The New York Yankees haven't won a championship in a while. So what? They got 26, 27 of them things. As god-awful as the New York Mets are. Hell, they've won a championship in the past 30, 40 years. They got them a chip. The Knicks now have a championship. The Giants been winning championships every 10, 15 years. They good money. See, it's real easy. Remember, you got to remember these owners, they got egos too. They got competition in between themselves too. Who can make the most money? Who could build the better team? There's just as much confidence in them owners' rooms as there are in these coaching meetings, these player locker rooms. They're just as cocky as them. My bad if I took a shot at your Nets, bro. My bad. If you're a Nets fan, I'm sorry. I'm just saying that to absolve them out of the picture. They don't belong in this conversation. I'm actually helping you. I'm actually helping the Nets to say that they're not in this case that Woody Johnson is in now. So I'm actually kind of giving them credit. I'm absolving them. So my bad if you think I'm shooting at the Nets. I'm not. I'm just trying to build a point, and you'll get it once I say this. And then we're out of here. There's nobody else in the room for Woody Johnson to be laughed at with. Look at these owners' rooms in New York. Remember, these guys are close. James Dolan and Woody Johnson have a relationship with each other. They're cool. They peeps. You know what I'm saying? It's real hard for you to be the laughingstock of the NFL for the past, the last time the Jets made the playoffs, I think at this point, it's 19 years, 20 years, something like that. It's real easy. It's not easy, but it's more easy being laughed at in a room with somebody that's close as an owner in New York who also has a dysfunctional franchise. It's totally different when you're the only one in the room and you're the one being laughed at. So like I said, the Jets not letting this shit burn with Geno Smith. It ain't happening. He had his chance. He came in here, he said all the right things. All of a sudden, the offseason drama happened. Totally not his fault. Totally not something to rag on him about. But now if this play is as inconsistent as it is, and it's the same thing you could get from Cade Klubnik, who would you choose? I'll leave you guys with that. But that's going to be it for me on this episode of Jets Roundtable. Shout out to the sponsor, Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Man, I really want you guys to sound off in the comments, man. Let me know how you feel. I understand it was longer than I thought it was. I didn't mean to be up here for an hour. That's my point. I'm going to clip this and make other videos and stuff like that. I'm going to clip this down for everybody who wasn't tuning in to the live. But everybody that tuned into the live, salute. Thank you for tuning in. Shout out to my guy. I can never get your name right. I'm going to hit you up. We'll get it right. Shout out to my guy, Mutt Viles. He says if Cade keeps playing, he keeps balling, he's going to start the latest by week 5. I agree. My guy Jets fan says let's show him, and then we get out of here. Cade keeps balling, going to start latest by week 5. I agree. Let's go ahead and get this Jets fan. If we start Cade immediately, for me, it kind of scares me because I don't want him to be like Zach Wilson. We cannot be living in the past like that, my brother. If the talent is there and he has control of the offense, he's good. Remember, Zach Wilson had to learn how to stop. He had to learn how to do a 3-step drop correctly. Cade Klubnik is not Zach Wilson. Get rid of that fear. If the kid has it, play him. Let's go to the next comment. We got Prince Blake. What up, my boy? Klubnik's best year they were giving the backfield hurdling practice. It paid off mentally and physically. Shipley, not a tall guy, was leaping over his would-be tacklers, and mentally the team knows. Salute to Prince Blake for the comment. We're going to go to John Colarafi. If Klubnik is any good on Friday, I expect an immediate starting quarterback controversy in the fan base. John, I'm here to tell you, it's probably already beginning. Salute to you for the comment. The Macho Man. What's up, my guy? Bro, I'm going to keep it a buck. I think Geno could be fine, but I want to see the youngster get his shot. And if we struck gold with Cade, best case scenario, man. Let's see if anybody else, like I said, hey, Alice Sale, I wasn't taking a shot at your Nets. I was absolving them from the New York BS because they really belong in Jersey. Let's go ahead and keep it real. I think every New Yorker at this point can understand that. Oh, it's LaSalle. It's French. I think I said it right. Salute to you. Tuning in to Jets Roundtable from France. Let's go Jets. I'll play the sound for you and everything. Jets. Salute, baby, salute nationwide. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you new and you like what you saw. Would love to have you, my guy. And that's going to be it for me, man. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, because you could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here with me talking Jets football, and I appreciate that. If you know, you know. Salute to you guys. Going to have a video tomorrow on the latest updates on training camp for the New York Jets, and we get ready to see what they're going to look like against Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers on Friday. See you guys next time. Salute. Peace out.
This is air traffic control. You're cleared for takeoff.